So we are recording this, and just a reminder why we're here today. We are doing a virtual petition delivery to Alliant Energy, Madison Gas and Electric, and Wisconsin Public Service, calling on them to retire the old and dirty Columbia coal plant. And we have several different speakers today who are going to walk us through why this week and why we're closing the plant. So to kick us off, we're going to start with Laura Lane, who is a Beyond Coal campaign volunteer and on the John Muir Chapter Executive Committee.
Thank you, Cassie. As Cassie said, we are calling today on the utilities that she mentioned to close the Columbia coal plant this year. As a volunteer for the Beyond Coal campaign, I feel a sense of urgency about this issue for 3 reasons. First, burning coal releases greenhouse gases, and this process drives climate change. In fact, the most serious long-term impact of burning coal is global warming. Global warming means dire consequences for our planet: rising sea levels, extreme weather events, species loss, and as we are experiencing now, possibly more pandemics. Many experts believe rising global temperatures and other environmental disturbances might facilitate the development of more novel viruses like COVID-19. Second, burning coal damages human health. Coal ash is full of toxic heavy metals that pollute our air and water. A recent Harvard study found a link between long-term exposure to dirty air and higher rates of death or serious consequences from the coronavirus. Now more than ever, Wisconsinites deserve to have clean air and clean water. Third, burning coal makes no economic sense whatsoever. Renewable energy, such as solar and wind, is much cheaper. It's simple. Renewable energy is better for our people, our planet, and our pocketbooks. That's why we are calling on the utilities today to close the Columbia coal plant now. Anything else is too little too late. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Claire Gervais.
Thank you, Laura. As we've stated, coal is a very dirty substance and very complex. Each step of the coal life cycle, including mining, transportation, combustion, washing of it, and disposing, impacts human health. I'm going to talk about 4 different categories of that. I'm going to start with talking about the coal ash and the toxic substances that coal has in it. There's a lot of poisonous elements, including lead, arsenic, tin, cadmium, mercury, as well as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. Others as well as boron and several other things. The coal ash is removed from burning coal and then has to go somewhere. It doesn't just go away. So at the Columbia plant and others, the coal ash has gone into these old unlined landfills. It has many toxic substances. Like I said, in the case of Columbia plant, boron and arsenic stand out. Increased boron levels affect the stomach, intestines, liver, kidney, and brain, as well as death with high levels. Arsenic can cause cancer, skin lesions, and are associated with cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Exposed children before they're born and in early childhood can experience the negative impacts of arsenic on their cognitive development. And young people have been shown to have increased deaths with arsenic. Also, the mercury that runs off into waterways and gets into fish accumulates, and we are potentially exposed by eating those fish. Next, I want to talk about the small particles or particulate matter that happen when coal is burned. These particles get breathed in and not only get into the lungs, but advance into our bloodstreams, affecting our heart and other systems, the nervous system, digestive, immune systems, and kidneys, and can cause premature deaths. Small particles, and particularly PM, we call it particulate matter, PM 2.5, have significant health effects. There's been studies showing PM 2.5 in air pollution causes up to 4.2 million premature deaths worldwide due to cardiovascular disease and respiratory disease, as well as several cancers. More recently, with our rapidly accumulating research on COVID, PM 2.5 has been associated, even just a small increase of it, these small particles, increase the death with COVID by 8%. As this relates to the Columbia plant, there is no monitoring for these particles, according to the American Lung Association data. I also want to talk about nitrogen and ground ozone. Ground ozone, if you don't know about it, it's a very complex reaction between nitrogen oxides, VOCs, and heat. So as the climate warms, we have more of this ground ozone, which increases asthma and other respiratory illnesses. So ozone levels are monitored and they've decreased over time. That's great news. But leading into my next and final thing, we've taken out the nitrogen, but we can't get rid of the carbon. And as we all know, carbon capture, well, we may not know this, is expensive. And it's only just beginning, and we haven't gotten there yet. Nor I'm sure we don't know if we ever will. So with the issue with carbon is that it increases the greenhouse. It's one of the major greenhouse gases, and increases climate change effects. Coal is the most carbon intensive of all fossil fuels, so it contributes significantly to climate change. We know that with climate change in Wisconsin, there's more flooding relating to health risks, including orthopedic injuries from removing belongings from flooded dwellings, and increased allergies from mold. We also see heat-related deaths, especially in the elderly and those who can't afford air conditioning. The mental health impact of these climate-related events is also very significant, with the loss of homes and possessions and the financial stress. So the bottom line is, it's time we put public health first and move beyond coal to a clean energy and healthy future. In the time of COVID, now is the time to build back better. And I'll pass it on to Matt.
Hi, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for being here. Coal no longer makes economic sense. Coal is expensive, and clean energy like wind and solar is increasingly cheaper and now regularly beats coal in energy markets. Alliant, WPS, and MG&E should retire Columbia not just because it's the right thing to do for the health of Wisconsinites, which is critical, not just because it helps mitigate the worst effects of climate change, which is crucial, but customers will actually save money when these utilities shut down Columbia and transition from coal to clean energy. It's the right economic choice for customers. The Columbia coal plant can no longer compete with wind and solar resources. Wind and solar now regularly and consistently beat coal-generated power in energy markets, and this is not going to change. Renewables produce more electricity than coal-fired plants in the first 90 days of the first 4.5 months of 2020. So this is a trend, and it's a consistent trend. The future of clean energy is here now. Columbia is losing money, and it's costing customers. Our analysis finds that in 2019, the Columbia plant operated for many hours in which it lost revenue. These losses are ultimately passed on to ratepayers in the form of higher fuel charges, and then thus into higher rates in the end. The Sierra Club calculated that in 2019, the cost of operating the Columbia coal plant exceeded the market price of energy in 3/4 of all of the hours it ran. So it was losing money 75% of the time based on our analysis. We call on Alliant, MG&E, and WPS to do the right thing by their customers. Retire Columbia and transition to clean energy. Governor Evers has called for a carbon-free energy sector, and utilities have the opportunity to be leaders in moving away from this dirty, carbon-intensive, and expensive fuel. This will benefit all of their customers and all Wisconsinites. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So before we move into Q&A, I just want to thank you all for being here and let you know that we will be doing our petition delivery immediately after this call ends. So we are sending nearly 1,000 petition signatures from across Wisconsin, primarily in MG&E, Alliant, and WPS customer territory, to all of those utility CEOs calling for the retirement of Columbia. And if you're attending this call as a supporter of Sierra Club, you can watch our social media. This is part of a week of action. MG&E shareholder meeting is tomorrow, and so there are many ways that we can continue to take action during this really important week. And additionally, if you are calling in and you are part of press, I'll be following up with a press release, my contact information if you want further interviews with the people who are on this call or anyone else from our team, or if you have specific questions. And then finally, we have an image from our virtual petition delivery that shows different activists across the state holding words that say the image "for our health, for our climate, and for our pocketbooks, close the Columbia coal plant." So if you're a reporter, I'm happy to pass along that file to you as well so that you have an image to include with your story as we're online right now. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll move into questions at this time.